She was a devoted mother, raising 6 kids on her own.
That's a struggle for any parent. It becomes a lot, it's draining.
Then she met the man of her dreams.
Imagine someone willing to come into your life with 6 kids. This is the person I want to be with for the rest of my life.
But the rest of her life was much shorter than she thought.
She had nearly 50 stab wounds to her body.
Slaughtered is the only way to put it.
The entire community is rocked.
Was it a jealous ex?
He was being pregnant most males.
Violence is his go-to.
He had a lengthy criminal history.
He recently was released from prison.
Or was the answer far worse than anyone imagined?
His friend was gunned down in the exact same spot.
What's wrong with you? He's a monster. He wanted someone to pay.
Stop! He said, I just killed you.
July 20th, 2010. It's a warm summer morning in Nashville, Tennessee, America's fast-growing music city.
Nashville, it's just transformed radically. There's like 100 people a day moving here.
We've become a very high touristy area, which has pushed aside some of our Black neighborhoods.
People are being priced out of their homes.
However, the Bordeaux neighborhood just north of downtown is a rare exception in this rapidly changing city.
It's an area that has a lot of history and a lot of pride in its history.
It is a neighborhood that has been historically Black.
The families that live there have lived there for a long time.
They want to stay there.
But this Tuesday morning, 30-year-old Bordeaux resident Asia Wade has seemingly disappeared.
Asia, open up!
Asia's sister had been trying to reach her since the night before, but all her calls had been going to voicemail.
So her sister went over to the house.
Asia, it's me! You know that something isn't quite right because you know this person. You know this is not normal behavior for them.
Just as the sister's worry is turning to full-blown panic, the door finally opens.
It wasn't Asia that answered the door. It was her 9-year-old son.
Hey, honey, where's your mom? In her room.
The 9-year-old said his mother had been in the bedroom and had not come out.
You guys stay here, okay? Asia?
Asia's sister tries the bedroom door,
Asia!
but it's locked,
Asia, open up! It's me!
and there's still no answer.
Asia!
She heard water running and the radio playing inside the room, but no sound of Asia.
At that point, her sister decided to kick in the door.
But she's not prepared for what she finds.
The blood in that room was everywhere.
And in the center of all that blood lay Asia Wade. "30-year-old Asia Wade had spent her whole life looking for love.
She'd had several serious boyfriends, and she'd come close to getting married.
However, when none of the relationships worked out in the long run, there was still plenty of love in Asia's life.
She had 6 beautiful kids by the time she was 29.
Being a single mom, 6 kids is tough. Getting kids up, getting baths, the bedtime routines. You've got to find a place for all 6 of the children to be during the day while you continue to work.
Asia worked at a local candy factory in downtown Nashville. Wasn't her dream job, but it provided for her family.
Even if you have a great family support, the day-to-day ins and out of being the only adult in the house is draining mentally and emotionally. That struggle is something I couldn't even imagine.
Despite her struggles, the hard-working single mom never stopped looking for someone to share her life with.
She wanted a loving husband. She wanted a father figure in her children's lives.
And she may have found just what she was looking for when a friend introduced her to D'Amico Duckworth in the spring of 2010.
How you doing?
Hi.
It's good to meet you.
D'Amico was from Arkansas, but he had extended family that lived in Nashville.
Why haven't I met you before?
I don't know, but I'm glad you meet me now.
Something sparked between them.
He was charismatic, a very charming person.
When you first meet someone and your eyes lock and your heart beats, who doesn't want that?
But would the spark stay lit when D'Amico found out Asia was a single mom to 6 kids?
I can imagine her thoughts. What man is going to want to come into that space and try to be a father figure to my kids?
You got family here?
I'm a mom.
That's great. How many kids you have?
6.
Really? That's awesome.
Really?
Oh, I love kids.
Making the big reveal of saying, I have 6 children, and that person's still saying, it's no big deal. The moment someone says something like that to you, you can't help but to say, this is the person that I want to be with.
For Asia, D'Amico seemed like the answer to her prayers.
D'Amico was a handsome man that comes in to save her and to stand in as a father to her children.
He said, I love you so much that I want to have not just you, but your whole family.
He's the love of her life.
But now, Asia's sister has just found Asia sprawled on the floor in the middle of her blood-soaked bedroom.
You see blood on the walls, you see blood on the floor pooled by her.
Seeing your sister lying in her own blood is horrific. It's an image that will take a lifetime to get out of your mind.
There are certain things that you can never unsee.
Devastated by the discovery, Asia's sister rushes to dial 911.
I think my sister is dead.
When officers arrive at the scene, they quickly confirm her sister's fear.
I'm gonna need a homicide.
No. Where's Clarence and Asia?
Clarence Goins?
Yeah, he's our cousin. He died last night.
When Asia's sister called 911, the Nashville police were already investigating Clarence's murder.
There could be a link between these 2 cases.
Were they dealing with a double homicide?
After struggling to find lasting love, mother of 6 Asia Wade had finally met the man she hoped would be Mr. Right, D'Amico Duckworth.
Where most men would have found the responsibility daunting, D'Amico loved the fact that she had 6 kids.
The moment someone says that, you can't help but to say, this is the person that I want to be with for the rest of my life.
Instead, her life has been cut short.
Asia's sister had just found her dead inside her home.
For her sister to find her that way is something that is heartbreaking.
Even more devastating, Asia is the 2nd member of the family who's been murdered in the past 24 hours.
Around 9:30 the night before, Asia's cousin, Clarence Goins, had been gunned down outside of his apartment.
Clarence's friend, Warren Nichols, had also been wounded in the shooting.
Both men had been rushed to Vanderbilt University Medical Center in critical condition.
Clarence had died in surgery.
Before he was pronounced dead, the family had been waiting at the hospital for news on his condition.
They thought it was odd that Asia wasn't at the hospital with them.
Where's Asia? I don't know. Why don't you try to give her a call?
Which is what led Asia's sister to her house the following morning.
The timing of the murders strikes police as suspicious.
Even though her sister didn't find Asia's body until the next morning, they thought she had to have been killed on the same night as Clarence.
I would be concerned if I was a sister, brother, nephew, cousin. Am I next?
Although if someone did have a vendetta against the family, there appeared to be limits.
All 6 of Asia's children were in the home and they were unharmed.
It appears that the children didn't witness the murder.
While Asia's sister arranges for family members to pick up the kids, detectives arrive to begin their examination of the crime scene. starting with Asia's body.
Her body was mutilated. She had nearly 50 stab wounds.
Stabbing someone to death is a very up-close and personal attack.
This is likely a crime that was committed by someone who knew her personally.
However, as they look over her injuries, detectives realize that the horrific stab wounds weren't all that Asia had endured.
She had ligature marks on her neck, and there was a clothes iron on the floor nearby, leading detectives to suspect someone had used its cord in an attempt to strangle her.
Looking around the bedroom, detectives find what appears to be another critical clue.
The window screen was cut out.
Could that be how the killer gained entry?
Detectives aren't sure, but do believe it's how the killer fled the scene.
Blood was on the drapes as a person was trying to escape out through that window.
Detectives have no idea where the killer fled, but how is fairly obvious.
Asia's car was gone.
The killer had probably taken Asia's keys before fleeing the scene.
So detectives issue a bolo for Asia's vehicle.
Yeah, I need you to put out a bolo on Asia Wade's car. It is missing from the scene. Thank you.
Then turn the crime scene over to the forensic team.
Forensic techs found and photographed several bloody fingerprints around the bedroom.
They also take samples of the blood for DNA analysis.
During a knife attack like this, it's not uncommon for the assailant to accidentally cut themselves with the knife, leaving their DNA along with the victim's.
Before wrapping up at the scene, detectives speak to Asia's sister, hoping to learn more about her personal life.
Whenever there's a crime like this committed, they're going to look at the people that are closest to the victim.
Do you know who could have been here? Did your sister have a boyfriend?
According to her sister, Asia does have a boyfriend.
D'Amico Duckworth.
Does he live here?
No, but he's around a lot.
Could you give us his number?
Releasing Asia's sister to join the rest of her grieving family, detectives immediately reach out to D'Amico, who agrees to meet them at the station.
He was very cooperative and states that he has no idea anything's even happened to Asia.
Did you do anything to hurt her? Not that I know of, Officer, no. Was there something wrong with her? Yes. She's been stabbed.
He seemed completely caught off guard.
Been stabbed? Multiple times. Man, you guys be bad. I'm just telling you the fact. She's dead.
Asked when he last saw Asia, D'Amico says that he was with her early on Monday evening, just hours before she died.
D'Amico states that he had picked her up from work and dropped her off at home.
How long were you at her house?
I'm not sure too long.
How long is not too long?
Like 15 minutes.
Where did you go then?
You roll around, getting very soon.
Did you stop anywhere else where someone might have seen you that can corroborate what you're saying?
I said that again when I started.
D'Amico insists while he did see her that evening, he would never do anything to harm Asia.
He said he'd only known her about 4 months, but he was closer to her and her children than he'd ever been with anyone before.
However, when detectives ask if there's anyone else that might want to hurt Asia, he says he does know of one man.
He says that Asia's ex-boyfriend has been in contact with Asia, and some of those contacts have been volatile.
His name is Devin Fisher.
He was leaving and threatening voicemails on us stuff like, you can mess with my phone before I kill you.
D'Amico said that he initially thought that they were just empty threats.
But now, he's not so sure.
He said there was another reason he thought Devin could be involved.
And I know that he had just got out.
He recently was released from prison.
After Asia Wade and her cousin Clarence Goins are killed within hours of each other, Nashville detectives suspect that the murders could be connected.
When investigators found Asia, they could tell that whoever did this had a score that they were trying to settle.
She'd been strangled and stabbed numerous times.
And according to Asia's boyfriend, D'Amico Duckworth, there is someone who may have a score to settle with Asia. Her ex-boyfriend, Devin Fisher.
D'Amico stated that Devin had threatened to kill Asia numerous times.
He was like, "Did you call my phone or something before I killed you? I think you did." I was like, damn. He told us he liked it.
D'Amico points police squarely in the direction of Devin.
He told detectives that Devin had just gotten out of prison and he was trying to rekindle his relationship with Asia.
He said he would call her repeatedly and exhibit a lot of stalking behavior towards Asia.
Based on D'Amico's statement, detectives look into his claims on Devin Fisher.
Devin quickly becomes a person of interest for law enforcement.
But when they pull the data from Asia's phone, there is no evidence that she had recently been in contact with her ex.
Law enforcement subpoenaed Asia's phone records, and they were able to go through and see who she communicated with.
Devin was not on there.
The records gave them no reason to believe that he could have participated in this.
Were they simply missing something? Before they can dig further into Devin, detectives get the call they've been waiting for.
Homicide.
They get a call from the hospital saying that Warren Nichols has come out of surgery and is able to speak to them.
Warren was with Asia's cousin, Clarence, when he was killed. And their hope was that he would be able to identify the person that shot them.
Law enforcement believes that these two murders are connected.
When detectives speak with Warren at the hospital, he tells them all he knows about the incident that put him there.
Warren told them that he and Clarence were outside Clarence's apartment when a man in a dark-colored hoodie approached them.
Do you remember anything about the hoodie, anything on it?
It was a black hoodie. Look cheap, nothing special.
Although Warren does say that he immediately knew there was something off about him.
The first thing went through my mind, I turned around. He had the hoodie on. This was someone saying,
He was thinking, why in the world does this guy have a hoodie on? It's the middle of the summer.
See his face?
He did not get a good look at the suspect.
All Warren knows is that the man approached them and spoke to Clarence, whose street name was Murda.
He said, Murda got the top.
He was asking them for cocaine. When neither of the men responded, that's when the suspect opened fire.
You got any salt?
How many shots do you remember?
I want to say he got murdered for the first shot.
Not only did Warren almost lose his life, he had to watch his close friend lose his life right in front of him.
Detectives were hoping for an ID on the shooter. But what Warren was able to tell them raises a whole new possibility.
Investigators have to consider that this could be part of a drug deal that went wrong, and that it had nothing to do with Asia's murder.
When detectives return to the station, however, they receive another call, one that may break the case wide open.
Police are contacted by a man named Brandon Lowe.
He informed them that he lives up the street from Clarence Goins.
He says he also knows Asia's boyfriend, D'Amico Duckworth.
He and Brandon run together.
You seem pretty cool, you know?
But now he says he has information on D'Amico that he can't keep to himself.
I ain't been asleep all last night cause Nico at the scene my car's bad.
He says that shortly before Clarence was killed, D'Amico had showed up at his house.
He came in the house, get scared. You know what I'm saying?
D'Amico gave him some information that was very alarming.
He said, I just killed you, and I'm gonna go down and kill Murda.
D'Amico Duckworth, named Brandon Lowe, claims that D'Amico confessed to killing his girlfriend, Asia Wade.
According to Brandon, that wasn't the only murder D'Amico committed that night.
He said, I just killed this, and I'm gonna go down and kill Murder.
Asia's cousin Clarence also went by the nickname Murda.
And he said that, I kept on saying, no, don't do that, you'll jeopardize our family.
Brandon tried to talk D'Amico out of going through with his plan.
But D'Amico didn't listen.
Shortly after D'Amico left, Brandon heard gunshots down the road.
He then knew that the worst had happened.
Clarence and Warren had been shot.
I'm like, man, why you killing this Murder and they got right down into my house?
The details of Brandon's story lined up with what Clarence's friend Warren told detectives about the shooting.
What was he wearing?
A black hoodie.
And Brandon's sister Alexis can back up his claims.
Brandon's sister Alexis, who was also present on that day, says she saw D'Amico arrive in Asia's car.
Was he driving the car?
Yeah, I ran with the car with the black tinted windows. And so I peeked that out, threw the hood over his head, and then went in my mama's house. I'm like, man, son ain't right.
Worried by D'Amico's behavior, Alexis says she followed him inside.
She overheard the same conversation that her brother did. She heard D'Amico say that I just murdered my girlfriend and now I'm on my way to kill Clarence.
Did you see Miko leave?
Yeah, after that, Miko walked on down the sidewalk.
She sees D'Amico walk in the direction of Clarence's home.
But that's not all Alexis claims she saw.
Yeah, I saw a gun in his hand.
She said that as D'Amico walked toward Clarence's house, he pulled out a gun.
And moments later, she also heard the shots ring out.
When I started hearing gunshots.
If what Brandon and Alexis told detectives is true, D'Amico has confessed to killing both Asia and Clarence.
Law enforcement's next question is, what is the motive?
According to the Lowe's, D'Amico's motives are tied to a murder that occurred a month earlier.
Their brother, Michael Johnson, had been murdered. He was a close friend to D'Amico.
Michael Johnson was gunned down in the exact same spot where Clarence and Warren were shot.
Alexis and Brandon tell detectives that their brother's death hit D'Amico hard.
He started self-medicating, even doing cocaine.
And every time he took Petal, he get the acting stupid.
He may have been in a state of paranoia.
He wanted answers. He wanted someone to blame.
And according to Brandon and Alexis, D'Amico had settled on Asia.
D'Amico had heard rumors that some members of Asia's family might have been behind the murder of his friend Michael.
Nobody was ever sure why he thought that because there wasn't any proof, but he was stuck on it.
And he wanted revenge.
He decided to take matters in his own hands.
D'Amico had become extremely abusive towards Asia.
He used to beat him.
They believe that this is D'Amico's way of getting back for Michael's murder.
Now, Michael's siblings believe D'Amico had taken his vengeance to the next level.
If D'Amico thought Asia and her family were responsible for Michael's death, that would explain why he told Alexis and Brandon about the murders.
He's letting them know that he's taking revenge out on these people on behalf of the family because he probably thought that they were going to be grateful to him.
Instead, they were horrified by what he'd done.
They ended up doing the right thing and being the voice for the people that lost their lives.
Digging into D'Amico's past, the detectives discover that he is no stranger to violent crime.
He has charges which include drug offenses, aggravated robbery, rape, and a violation of parole.
This was a person who had no problem using violence.
But detectives will need more than the Lowe's statements and a lengthy criminal history to make an arrest.
So police start to interview additional family members and friends.
The biggest indication that there had been trouble in Asia and D'Amico's relationship comes when the detectives sit down with Asia's 9-year-old son.
This is the same little boy that answered the door when Asia's sister came and found her body.
He tells detectives that his mother and D'Amico fought often.
You want me to tell you what happened when they first started?
I want you telling him to do.
He said just 2 weeks before her murder, he stuck a gun in her mouth.
They put a gun to her mouth. Then that's when it all started.
Your mama told you that, or you saw that?
My mama told me that.
These kids have heard violence between their mother and this man before.
So when Asia's kids heard arguing on the night of her murder, it was nothing new.
And just slowly tell me what happened. Were they yelling at each other?
He said when it's happening, they just wait for it to end.
But this time, it ended in tragedy.
Those poor kids had no idea just how much danger their mom was in that night.
Then what?
Then they shut the door and locked it.
Between Brandon, Alexis, and Asia's son, detectives now have enough for an arrest warrant.
Police are convinced that they found their guy.
However, there is still one thing missing. D'Amico.
They're not able to locate him.
D'Amico is on the run.
Detectives investigating the murders of Asia Wade and her cousin Clarence Goins are ready to arrest 30-year-old D'Amico Duckworth. There's just one problem.
Now that you're ready to put the cuffs on him, you can't find him.
D'Amico had either fled or was in hiding.
He's probably realizing I've told too many people, they're gonna figure it out, and so I need to get out of here.
D'Amico's disappearance triggers an exhaustive search for the fugitive.
Law enforcement agencies make every effort, including the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation offering a reward for information that would lead to his capture, and D'Amico being placed on the top 10 most wanted.
Detectives also follow up with D'Amico's friends, Alexis and Brandon Lowe.
You have any idea where D'Amico might have gone?
He used to stay in Atlanta, and he had this female down there. But as far as that's it. Unless he went back to Arkansas.
He could be going to Forest City, Arkansas. The mom and them stayed in Forest City.
For family members, the fear is that D'Amico might still be in Nashville.
They feel very unsafe knowing that D'Amico has not been found.
Maybe he wants to take the whole family out.
But they refuse to be intimidated.
Asia's family decides to move forward with a candlelight vigil to celebrate Asia and Clarence's lives.
Yes, there may be a target on our family's back, but we're not gonna give him the satisfaction to say they won't be celebrated. We're still gonna honor them, and we're still going to show up and celebrate the lives that they live the way that they deserve to be honored.
The vigil also allows the family to make a statement to the press and to D'Amico.
They ask publicly for D'Amico to turn himself in.
Whether from their pleas or from guilt, 1 week after the murders, D'Amico reaches out to the police in Atlanta, Georgia.
He said he wanted to turn himself in.
An arrangement is made for him to meet law enforcement agents at a local supermarket.
And on July 26, 2010, 7 days after the murder of Asia Wade, police finally take D'Amico into custody.
He does surrender without incident.
With D'Amico in custody, the Nashville detectives drive down to Atlanta to conduct another interview.
What we're going to discuss with you is a shooting that happened last Monday.
Detectives started out by asking him about Clarence's murder.
Clarence Goins was shot in the head. And an associate that was next to him was shot in the leg. All right? And we've spoken to everybody over there, including witnesses, and they've implicated you in that shooting.
D'Amico admits that he knew Clarence, and that he'd been at Clarence's house on the night he died.
I did go over that night. I asked him, did he have some cocaine? Did he have some salt?
D'Amico shared with law enforcement that his only intention was to buy drugs from Clarence.
But detectives suspect D'Amico had another motive.
According to Brandon Lowe, D'Amico believed that Clarence had killed D'Amico's friend Michael.
Had he gone looking for payback?
You think he was involved in Michael's murder? Honestly, Detective, I don't know who was involved in Michael's murder.
But he did have suspicions.
D'Amico shares with investigators that he believes Asia's family had something to do with Michael Johnson's death.
And those assumptions in there, that they had something to do with it. I was involved with one of their family members so I could see if something could see. It was like, it was understood they didn't like me, it was understood I didn't like them.
But he says that changed after Michael Johnson was killed.
All of a sudden, they want me to go out with them, want to get high with them, have drinks.
He states that after Michael died, Asia's family completely changed the way that they approached him, that they were very welcoming and warm towards him. He almost felt as if they were trying to lure him into some sort of trap and felt like they were going to do something to him as well.
So D'Amico says that when he approached Clarence outside his house that night, he was on high alert.
I know through the streets they say he's real sneaky.
He said that as soon as he got close to Clarence, he knew that something was up.
Well, the guy was standing back, giving him room to do whatever he needed to do it.
Yo, my man, you got any salt?
And according to D'Amico, that's when Clarence made his move.
So he was pulling something from his pocket, he didn't actually see what it was, and was reaching in his pocket.
D'Amico feels that Clarence was reaching for a gun.
You know, I don't think I gave a chance to see what he was going to put on me.
He then admits to shooting Clarence and Warren Nichols.
He said he had no choice.
I thought he was trying to kill him.
D'Amico got to the point of when there was a suppression of his emotions, he wasn't able to process it. And when you experience grief, it's important to find a safe space to process it. Because when we pin up grief, it turns into rage. And then that rage turns into blind rage, where we are now seeking violence, we're seeking vengeance. And when vengeance is mixed with grief, it will never end in a good way.
Yo, my man, you got any salt?
Surrendering to police in Georgia, D'Amico Duckworth has just confessed to the shooting that killed Clarence Goins and wounded his friend Warren Nichols. However, he claims it was self-defense.
They were trying to do something to me.
D'Amico told them that he only shot the man after Clarence tried to pull a gun on him.
He's claiming self-defense.
All I know is I just shot. You can't say for certain that I actually shot him.
He's trying to mitigate his responsibility, but what he doesn't know is the evidence is already there.
D'Amico's friends Brandon and Alexis both told detectives that just minutes before the shooting, D'Amico came by their house and said he planned on killing Clarence.
And I'm about to go kill Murder.
That isn't all he supposedly told Brandon that night, either.
Brandon reports that D'Amico came to his house saying that he had just killed Asia.
The first time he talked to police, D'Amico said the last time he saw Asia was when he dropped her off at the house that afternoon.
But now, when detectives push back on D'Amico's story, he changes it.
He does admit to investigators that they had had an argument on the day that he dropped her off.
What was the argument? She thought I was messing with somebody.
He stated that this is common. They argued often.
But still, he denies any involvement in her murder.
Hey, she was so do what you say. I just really can't, man. It doesn't get me.
Well, that's what you see.
At this point, despite whatever he's going to say in this interview, they've got their guy.
As D'Amico awaits extradition back to Tennessee, the crime lab finishes processing the evidence from Asia's bedroom, and the case against him becomes even stronger.
The fingerprints found in Asia's bedroom matched D'Amico.
There's 2 DNA types found in the blood samples, one belonging to the victim and one belonging to D'Amico.
This is enough to prove without a doubt that D'Amico is Asia's killer.
They can charge him with first-degree murder for Asia Wade. They can charge him for first-degree murder with Clarence Goins, and also attempted murder of Warren Nichols. They've got him.
When D'Amico goes on trial in February of 2012, Asia's family fills the courtroom.
Trial can be very difficult for the families of those that have been murdered because you have to put your grief on hold because you want to seek justice. You want to make sure that their voice is heard.
According to the prosecution, the murder of D'Amico's friend, Michael Johnson, had launched a chain of events that led to Asia and Clarence's deaths.
The prosecution argues that D'Amico's motivation was misplaced rage and retribution for the murder of his lifelong friend.
Trauma in itself can cause a lot of rage, and when you incorporate drugs, that is extremely dangerous.
If I'm using drugs to kill, causing me to potentially have paranoia, which allowed him to justify his actions.
He wanted someone to pay for what was done to his friend.
And in his drug-filled paranoia and rage, D'Amico decided that it was Asia and her cousin Clarence who had to die.
Innocent people that had nothing to do with the pain that he was feeling, he wanted them to hurt.
His vengeance came on the night of July 19, 2010.
According to the prosecution's theory, D'Amico had taken Asia home after work and confronted her with what he had convinced himself was the truth.
Acting crazy all night.
You know what you did.
I didn't do anything. What's wrong with you?
And D'Amico's mind was vengeance. It was rage.
D'Amico decided that she had to die, so he grabbed an iron in the room. He got the cord and tried to strangle her during the argument.
And when that failed, D'Amico grabbed a knife.
He stabbed her nearly 50 times.
He's a monster. There's no other word to describe it.
Then D'Amico made his escape.
He locked the door, turned the radio on, left the water running so that the kids wouldn't suspect anything that night.
He cut out the screen of the window and escaped and stole her car.
But his murderous rampage was only beginning.
From Asia's, he'd driven to the neighborhood where her cousin Clarence lived.
However, before going to Clarence's house, he stopped by Brandon's to brag about what he'd done.
In his mind, he was doing everyone a favor, getting revenge for Michael's death.
No, I killed her, and I'm about to go kill Murder.
Brandon Lowe testified that he tried to talk D'Amico out of killing Clarence.
Whatever, man.
Hey, hold on, T.
But there was no reasoning with D'Amico.
Yo, my man, you got any salt?
It was completely premeditated.
As far as D'Amico was concerned, Asia and Clarence had it coming.
And according to the prosecution, there was no doubt D'Amico was responsible.
D'Amico admitted to shooting Clarence and his friend Warren.
He'd also left his bloody fingerprints and DNA in Asia's bedroom.
The prosecution was able to gather an overwhelming amount of evidence.
Would it all add up to a guilty verdict?
You never know what a jury's gonna do. But in this case, they convicted him on all the charges.
The testimony from the Lowe siblings, the forensic evidence found in Asia's bedroom, all of this was sufficient to find D'Amico guilty of all charges.
The judge sentences D'Amico to 108 years in prison.
108 years is something I think the family can hold on to. I think they can wrap their arms around that, but nothing, not 108 years, not a life sentence, can take back the loss of this family.
Justice will never fully be served because children are without a mother.
The tragic loss of their mother is something they will struggle with all their lives.
You're never going to be the same. That becomes the subject of your nightmares. That's going to replay over and over and over.
As her children get older, they're going to question why their mother is not a part of their lives to see their beautiful moments, such as graduations and weddings. And the answer to that question is D'Amico. He took her life.
New Orleans is one of the grand dames of the Deep South. From the Bayou to Bourbon Street, the city radiates with unique charm. And every year, tourists flock to its streets to celebrate the tradition of Mardi Gras. But in autumn of 1998, the city became the scene of a horrific murder when a beloved musician was gunned down in the streets. New Orleans is one of the grand dames of the Deep South. From the Bayou to Bourbon Street, the city radiates with unique charm. And much of that is due to its multicultural heritage.
We have the various cultures, but we come together as one. Makes New Orleans different from other places.
Indispensable to New Orleans is the African American population. Around 1800 or 1810, a census of New Orleans showed that the city was more than 50% African, either free or enslaved. And that affected the architecture, the food, it influenced the culture, it influenced everything. So Black influences have been part of New Orleans from the very beginning.
One of the most important influences the city's Black community had was on music.
Beginning in the late 1800s, you had the tradition in New Orleans of the French marching bands. The French marching bands used drums, they used horns. In the early 1900s, Black New Orleanians learned how to play the instruments used in a French marching band. But what they brought to those instruments was the rhythmic sounds of African music. That was the beginning of this unique musical tradition that was distinctly a New Orleans creation, and that became jazz music.
Jazz is mostly improvisation, and to me that was the freedom to express in your way, when you play your instrument, what your language would be, you know, and how you express.
For crime.
New Orleans was named the murder capital in the U.S. in 1994. And it continued to have one of the highest murder rates in the country all the way up until 2010. The city had an average of 250 murders per year, and a lot of that was gun violence.
And in the late 90s, one shooting would hit the city.
My father was a protege of Mahalia Jackson. He recognized the power of music as a young kid, and he just went full throttle with it.
At 12, he made his first original studio recordings.
He did an album with a gospel song on it, and it was an R&B song on the flip side.
The song Prayer from a 12-year-old boy, when you listen to that song, you can hear his voice. He was born to express this message in such a way.
Choir, the Rams, and they would just tear the Jazz Fest down. OMG.
It was always flying off here, there, and everywhere. New York, Chicago, as I recall, Philadelphia, until finally he was able to get across the Atlantic Ocean and go to France and Italy.
But no matter how big a star he became, Raymond never forgot where he came from.
I would ask him different times, is there any other place you would want to live? He said, no, you travel anywhere, went everywhere. But New Orleans was home for him.
The city loved Raymond, not only for his music, but also the way he gave back to his community.
He worked in the school system as a music teacher with several different schools.
and he had his group, and he played for several different churches, so he had touched so many lives.
He was always here for the city. Whenever they needed him to perform at any fundraiser or something that was related to helping the children, he was there.
That made him special. That made him extra special because he was so gifted, but having the love and care for people, that made him extraordinary.
There were so many kids on a daily basis that would come up to me and say, Carmen, I saw your dad, Raymond, today. Oh my God, I felt the Holy Ghost. Now, in my adult life, I run across some of those people and they're just like, I was in the streets, I was selling drugs, and your dad literally came and snatched me out the streets and put me in his choir.
He wasn't scared to minister to the youth, even if they're on the street, on the corners. It didn't matter to him. He wanted to see the young people prosper and to know that they can make it.
Raymond had felt like he had a calling on his life to save New Orleans.
But in October of 1998, Raymond falls victim to gun violence, and his life of ministry comes to a tragic end. And detectives need to find out why. They start with interviewing his family and friends.
The phone rang, and so I said hello, but the answer that I got from the other end was so spitfire rapid, I really had to sit up in the bed because I wasn't sure that my mind had processed what was said. And what he said was, I am Detective John Rondino of the New Orleans Police Department, and I'm calling to tell you that Raymond Miles was killed this morning. It's a broadsiding. One of my best friends in life has now gone home to live with God.
Patricia tells the detective she just spent the previous day with Raymond.
She explains that she and Raymond attended a concert together, went to dinner, and then he dropped her off at home.
He was driving this newly minted, if you will, Navigator.
But investigators at the scene find no trace of Raymond's prized Navigator. Was Raymond's death the result of a carjacking? Or did he have enemies no one knew about?
We live in a world where people are always looking for something you have for nothing. That's why you never know who's watching. There's always somebody looking who wants what you have.
New Orleans may be known for jazz, but gospel music has always been an important part of the city's culture.
Gospel music is important because of the fact that we get to express how we feel. We have a lot of people in New Orleans from the Black community that have had a lot of suffering, whether it's bills or not able to find a job or all these things that you're going through. And you go to church and you have the best experience because the choir just sang and the atmosphere is filled with such a great spirit until you forget about your problems.
Growing up here, listening to music, especially here in the city, if you came up in the church, you were listening to gospel music all the time. It was important to hear those musicians that would give you what would feed your spirit.
And Raymond Miles had always been a singer who filled crowds with the Holy Spirit. Now investigators are tasked with finding his killers, but it won't be easy.
And shots rang out like that, people are going to look. There's going to be witnesses. There was a witness in the area. He heard the shots, at which time he got up and started walking in that direction, and he heard maybe 2 more shots. At that time, he saw a black vehicle fleeing the scene, and he also saw a white Navigator fleeing the scene.
Another witness sheds more light on the crime.
they saw two guys in a black vehicle run up to my father's vehicle and shoot a couple times. And they saw someone running around getting in a truck. Mind you, it had to be more than one person to get him out of that truck because he was such a large man.
The first thing that detective would think that most likely was some type of robbery maybe gone wrong, or most likely a carjacking.
Mr. Miles was known to wear a number of pieces of gold, expensive jewelry. However, when he was found, he did not have any jewelry on his body.
I remember him having a necklace with a piano on it. Like that necklace was making a statement. He had pinky rings that sat up this high. You name it, he had it, and he wore it.
Unfortunately, witnesses are only able to give a vague description of the suspects.
Advised that it was two black males observed fleeing the scene.
Clues at the scene reveal Raymond didn't go down without a fight.
There was a plastic, looked like a piece of a car that was on the ground that was next to him. Raymond Miles, when they found him, his shirt was missing a button. It suggests that there was most likely a struggle inside of a vehicle when all of this happened. There was one .380 casing found. The victim suffered more than one gunshot wound, so apparently those extra casings were somewhere, possibly inside of that victim's vehicle, that white Navigator.
That morning, as word of Raymond's death passes through the community, investigators receive information that a teenage boy named Harold spotted Raymond's SUV after the shooting.
Harold was actually a part of the choir that Raymond Miles directed. He told them that he was at Jean's Po' Boy. That's maybe like 4 to 5 blocks away from where the murder actually occurred. He said he saw the white Navigator that he knows Raymond Miles drives. He saw it pass him up on Alicia Fields, headed towards Charters, where the murder happened. Harold informed the detectives that he spoke to one of his cousins. His cousin was actually an employee at Jean's Po' Boy, and the cousin told him that after the murder, he saw the white Navigator pull up in front, and he saw maybe 2 guys get out of the Navigator. One of them walks to the counter, orders some food, and the other one goes to the bathroom. The first thing with detectives, they're going to go there and they want to talk to the manager, but they also want to see if there's possible surveillance video. The manager stated that they remember the white Navigator pulling up at the location and 2 guys getting out of it. They couldn't really give the particulars as far as what the person looked like, but they did describe him as a heavyset black male wearing a white shirt. They looked like they were possibly between the ages of maybe 17 to 19 years old, younger males. They learned there was no video surveillance to help these detectives out.
With little to go on, investigators look into Raymond's financials.
One of the first things that investigators do after a robbery is contact the bank to monitor credit card activity. Sure enough, someone used Raymond's bank card after the murder.
There was a purchase at a gas station for gas. It was for $15. That's a big time lead, because after the murder, whoever has Raymond Miles' vehicle, they went to a gas station. At a gas station, there has to be witnesses or possibly cameras.
Will detectives get their first look at the men who killed Raymond Miles?
As a detective, sometimes things work out perfect, but sometimes you get those little bumps in the road. But you got to keep going. You got to be persistent and just trust the investigation.
New Orleans consistently ranks as one of the most dangerous cities in the United States. Murder is an unfortunate fact of life there, especially within the Black community.
New Orleans' murder rate is sky high. With a population of over 390,000, they had over 150 new murders each year from 1994 to 2010. That's one of the higher murder rates in the nation. It's not just murder, but violent crimes in general. Rapes, robberies, and assaults are all much higher as well. Your chances of being a victim of a violent crime in New Orleans is 1 in 85. That means on any given day, their police departments have their hands full. The added pressure of a high-profile case like Raymond Miles doesn't make it any easier for the police.
In the days following Raymond Miles' murder, the music community organizes a memorial in the French Quarter with performances from his peers.
He got the tribute he really deserved. If he had planned it, he would have planned it the same way. Probably would have had some angels hanging from the ceiling or with glitter.
His funeral, held at St. Stephen Full Gospel Church, has over 4,000 mourners in attendance.
New Orleans overwhelmingly was there for him at the end to say goodbye.
My mom, she cried and, she broke down when they opened the casket. And just a lot of people were just in disbelief because, you had this man who helped so many people and he was gone. A lot of people were just in shock and it hurt me. I cried, I tried to fight it, but, that was my dad.
But as detectives continue their investigation, they discover some things in his personal life that could have made him a target.
It wasn't a secret that my dad was bisexual. Let me just put that out there. Ray Charles could have saw that. Stevie Wonder could have saw it. I mean, come on, common sense. You got this big, gigantic man, he's wearing pearls and stuff. Because of his flamboyance and his lifestyle, they wanted him to tone it down. You can't, that's like telling a butterfly, don't be beautiful.
He was a gay man in gospel music and not afraid to be who he was at a time when acceptance was difficult and criticism was sometimes loud. But nonetheless, Raymond persisted to be Raymond. He dared to be himself.
He didn't want people to judge him off of that versus the work he could do for the young people, for the church. I think that was the main reason that he kept it on a personal level, kept it private.
I heard a lot of rumors, and sometimes his lifestyle came up and people talked about that. Some people thought his lifestyle led to him being murdered.
Following a tip from Raymond's bank, investigators follow up at the gas station where his credit card was used.
Usually gas stations have enough cameras to get pretty good coverage of most of the pumps. They're hoping that one of the cameras got a good shot of the suspect pumping gas.
When they get there, they speak to an employee there. The employee tells them that on that night, they actually remember seeing that white Navigator because it kind of stood out to him. He was like, man, I remember seeing this nice vehicle out there, but he couldn't tell us exactly who got out of the vehicle, but he did see it. At that time, the detectives inquired about surveillance video, but unfortunately, surveillance video wasn't recording.
Fortunately, local news coverage has everyone on the lookout for Raymond's SUV. It doesn't take long for someone to spot it.
We got a call that the white Lincoln Navigator was parked in a neighborhood. It had been sitting there since the morning of the murder. It was found parked with nobody in it. But unfortunately, nobody could give a description of the person that was driving it or last seen driving it. We know inside of that vehicle, there's going to be some evidence because that's where the crime occurred. So finding that was key to the investigation. Definitely get your blood boiling, get you going again. Give you a little confidence in the investigation. The first thing that stands out is apparent that there's blood splatter patterns on the door of the vehicle, which gives us the evidence that the murder happened there. It's pretty safe to say that whoever shot him was right there, either inside the vehicle or right on side of it. They also saw what appeared to be a palm print.
Many of Raymond's possessions have been stolen from the vehicle, which seems to confirm an armed robbery.
The detectives were hoping to possibly find Raymond Miles' cell phone, and he also was known to carry this TV radio. He always had it with him. All of those things were missing.
The cell phone is a big deal because they can subpoena the records and determine what numbers may have been called before, during, or after the murder. And they can also track it even if the person who stole it has turned the phone off. And you can get the last location, which can narrow the search.
Detectives immediately
more famous than he was before he left us. I have not met anybody yet that touched me with their music like he did.
So, now it seems like the entire city is focused on helping police find the men who killed him.
They'd already gotten several tips from residents and collected good evidence along the way. And now they also had cell phone data to go along with that.
When the detectives learned about the 2 calls placed after the murder, they did a separate warrant on those phone numbers to find out who these people were.
At one of the houses, detectives find a married couple who knew Raymond Miles.
The homeowner, she stayed there with her husband and her sister. She informed the investigators that her sister recently had came to the house because she got into a big old fight with her boyfriend, Roderick Natil. She's only had that number for maybe a couple weeks, and not too many people even have that phone number. At the time of the call, she wasn't able to answer it. She returned the call and it just rang and rang and rang, but nobody picked up. So she just figured it's probably just a wrong number because she just got that cell phone.
At the other address are 2 teenage sisters living with their elderly grandmother.
We speak to 2 teenage girls who inform us that they remember that call coming through, but like teenagers, they were on the other end, chatting away, talking on the phone. They never clicked over it, never answered it. So they don't know who was calling that time of night. They inform us that it could have been a whole bunch of people. They gave a list of names to the detectives of people who possibly would have been calling them. So as an investigator, all you can do is jot down those names and see if it comes up later in your investigation.
On Monday, October 26th, as detectives are still trying to track down Raymond Miles' killer, they get another tip connecting back to Harold.
There was an officer who was actually assigned to the school. He informed the detectives that he's heard chatter of Harold walking around with a fancy gold Rolex, rings, jewelry, a whole bunch of money, which is kind of interesting because that's pretty much the things that are missing from Raymond Miles. They also heard that he told another student that he's gonna need a lawyer at some point. So it kind of draws the detective's attention over to him and says, you know what, we gotta go speak with him again.
Harold was eager to help the police by providing leads at the beginning of the investigation. And now this made detectives wonder if Harold may have actually been involved and he was trying to throw them off.
Meanwhile, the FBI lab has identified the shoe print left at the waterfront.
The shoe print that was found by the discarded items came back to a Nike Air Thunder. Kind of sought after shoe. It's kind of a distinct shoe also.
Now they're looking for a suspect with a pair of Nikes and wondering if Harold may actually have them in his own closet.
But could one of Raymond's own choir members be involved in his murder?
Usually in a homicide investigation, there's just no such thing as a coincidence.
This was not random. That's just where my mind goes. It was an act of jealousy. Somebody out there wanted his spot and they wanted to take his place. And they thought that if they got him out the way, maybe the tour could go on and they could have that lead role.
Shoe prints or impressions are left at nearly every crime scene, and they can often provide a crucial link to the perpetrator.
Shoe prints have unique characteristics like fingerprints, things like wear patterns and defects that are visible under magnification. The FBI used commercial databases with thousands of images to match shoe prints to a specific type and size. Proving that a person is at a crime scene is always the cornerstone of any crime investigation. Once a shoe print or impression is positively linked to a suspect, it can make or break a case. It's just another way that technology has advanced the way law enforcement works.
As the investigation into the murder of gospel legend Raymond Miles wears on, New Orleans struggles to accept his loss. After several weeks, police have not yet released any information. So Raymond's friends and family are beginning to wonder if his killers will ever be caught.
I got a little aggravated because I'm like, you should be trying to find the people that did it.
We just assumed with Raymond being such a high-profile person that it would have gotten more attention. It was a struggle for the family to find out information.
There was nothing to show that Harold had anything to do with this. None of the leads lead back to him being involved with it or being the perpetrator.
Then an anonymous tip to the Crime Stoppers hotline sends investigators in an unexpected direction. The source claims that a teenage woman named Chandra has new information about the case.
There's a female at a battered women's shelter. This person had information about the perpetrator of the murder. They informed us in the tip that her boyfriend was responsible for the murder.
Quite often, these anonymous tips received on these hotlines are nothing but a wild goose chase. But you have to follow them all up because you never know if one of them is going to pan out.
In reviewing their case file, detectives immediately recognize Chandra's name. She is the sister of the woman who received a call from Raymond Miles' cell phone the morning after the murder.
In a murder investigation, a good detective is always looking for connections. If the same name keeps popping up, you pay attention.
At a shelter for victims of domestic violence, they try to keep these victims safe. So they won't release that information, not even to the police. That's like a safe haven, somewhere that she could get away from this person who's abusing her. The only way that we could even talk to this person is if they really are willing to talk to us. We can't make them.
After speaking with the Chrysalis counselor, Chandra agrees to meet with detectives. Chandra and her 2 children had been staying at a shelter since she left her sister's home in October.
She informs the detectives that her boyfriend, Roderick Natil, she believes he's responsible for the murder because she heard him talking about it, and she also saw him driving Raymond Miles' white Lincoln Navigator. In her mind, she already knew he's responsible for the murder of Raymond Miles. The witness informed detectives that her life was actually threatened by Mr. Natil. He said that he would kill her if she told anybody about this crime. And she was scared. She was visibly shaken speaking to the detectives. But she was brave enough to actually come forward and give this information.
New Orleans police are already familiar with Roderick Natil. He has an extensive arrest record.
Roderick Natil was a career criminal. He was addicted to heroin. Very bad. And that is what he did. He robbed people, killed people, carjacked people his entire youth.
The story Chandra tells police seems to line up with the evidence they've gathered so far.
She tells the detectives that Roderick Natil, he came inside the residence, he had blood on his clothing, he had a portable TV with him, he had a cell phone with him. He seemed to be nervous and agitated and really kind of on edge. He was also with a guy named Terrell. He was there with him right after the murder. She doesn't know his involvement, but that's who was with Roderick at the time. That following morning, she waited till he went and got in the shower. She went through his belongings and found the cell phone. And with that cell phone, she tried to call her sister. Unfortunately, her sister didn't pick up. She was trying to call her sister, trying to get some help. Now it's starting to make sense. Everything is starting to line up.
Detectives immediately obtain a warrant to search the house Roderick is living in. He's not there, but they do find something else.
They found some tennis shoes. They found some socks, some jean shorts. The thing about the tennis shoes and the socks, they actually were stained with blood. Now things have changed. He is the suspect.
New Orleans police have finally zeroed in on a suspect in the murder of Raymond Miles. A 21-year-old career criminal named Roderick Natil.
He was exactly the type of person that got locked up for robbery and murder. That was always who he was because he had a rough upbringing.
And from what investigators gather, that could have been how Raymond and Roderick met.
I feel like my dad might have trusted the wrong types. He might have rushed out to the street kind in hopes of taking them out of their lifestyle.
Maybe it was a personal relationship that had gone astray. Even to this day, there's still speculation as to what occurred.
I have not heard of him knowing Roderick, of my dad knowing Roderick at all. It's like he was just a random person that might have been pulled into a situation. Well, look, I know somebody that's liable to have $5,000 worth of jewelry or belongings with him. Let's go get him.
Whatever the connection is, police now have solid evidence that Roderick was involved in the shooting. On December 15th, 1998, they obtain a warrant for his arrest. However, they won't have to go looking for him because Natil decides to turn himself in.
Apparently, his mother told him, you need to go turn yourself in or I'm gonna turn you in. He had no choice because he knew either he was gonna turn himself in or somebody was gonna get a reward for turning him in.
But if police were hoping for a confession, they are disappointed.
He's not friendly. He's not coming in there to give them any information. He's basically denying knowing anything about it.
He just claims he's not the one that pulled the trigger, per se. But of course, he's gonna say that.
With Roderick now in custody, detectives turn their attention to the man who was with Roderick on the night of Raymond's murder, Terrell.
The detectives start speaking to family members of Roderick, friends and associates, to see if they could get maybe a last name or more information about Terrell. They learned about Terrell Peters. So now the detectives have a second name. The associates informed the detectives that it was basically a robbery gone bad, where they wound up ultimately killing.
They also provide information on who shot Raymond Miles.
They identified Natil as the trigger man.
Now investigators need to track down 18-year-old Terrell Peters. But before they can, he is found gunned down on Christmas Day.
On the scene, there was a handgun found, a .380, which matches the caliber used in the killing of Raymond Miles. That gun was sent off to be tested, and it came back. It wasn't the murder weapon used to kill Raymond Miles.
Although police believe Roderick Natil to be the killer, without witnesses or concrete evidence, they can't prove it.
Still to this day, the murder weapon has not been found. Only 2 people most likely know where it is. One of them is deceased, the other one's in prison.
After 2 years, prosecutors strike a deal for accessory after the fact of first-degree murder and possession of stolen property.
Natil's attorney argued that, yeah, he was in possession of the property after the murder, but he didn't kill Raymond Miles. Sometimes that's the way it goes in these investigations. You could have all the pieces to make a great case, but you just need that one small piece to lock it in. So unfortunately, we didn't have that.
He was ultimately sentenced to 20 years for accessory to murder, but 2 years of time served.
He did 15 or 16 years, and then he committed another armed robbery. It landed him back in prison where he's at right now.
I'm happy to share here with my mother and my sister and, of course, with all of my family members. I want to say God bless you. And I want you to keep in the back burners of your mind that a family that prays together will stay together.
Raymond's loved ones who believe Roderick Natil was the one who took Raymond Miles from them are still reeling from their loss.
He has to know that the mystery around it has driven a lot of us crazy. I really hope one day he has a come to Jesus moment. My heart had been ripped out of me, and it's never gonna be put back. I can't call him, I can't hug him. This has killed a part of me that's never gonna come back to life.
(1958-1998). That dash is more important than anything, and it's such a little line, but it encapsulated such a big life.
Riverside, California is a peaceful town full of sunshine and orange groves. And the Mediterranean climate and nearby Joshua Tree National Park make it a picturesque place to live. But not even the California countryside is immune to violence. In 2008, the search for a group of brutal killers would lead investigators from a quiet bedroom community to the last place anyone expected. "50 miles east of Los Angeles, you'll find the city of Riverside. It's the largest in California's metropolitan area, known as the Inland Empire, and the birthplace of the state's citrus industry."
Riverside County is the 10th largest county in the country. It's a huge geographic area.
They had vineyards, and there's a lot of history there. Different places that you can go and explore.
Riverside's most famous landmarks are the Mission Inn and the Fox Theater.
I mean, it had everything that you could ever want. It had the little stores and little mom and pop shops and stuff like that.
Originally founded by the Native Americans in the 1700s, Riverside became a colony of the United States in 1870. On October 15, 2008, that peace was shattered. While most of the city gets ready for work, the Riverside County Sheriff's Office is suddenly bombarded with 911 calls. They're all concerning one young couple, Jan and Kiana Piacek.
My wife and I, we got a call early morning. The person asked, where was Kiana? Had you seen Kiana?
I was like, no, she should be at work. And her secretary said, no, she wasn't there. I said, well, let me call Yannick's phone.
And when we couldn't reach Yannick's phone either, I had a really weird feeling in the pit of my stomach.
Jan is a sergeant in the Marines, and Kiana works at an infant care center. Neither one of them is known to miss work.
Both were regarded as very responsible individuals, people who wouldn't miss work without calling in sick or calling in late. It was extraordinarily out of character for each of them, and both Sergeant Piacek's supervisor and Kiana's supervisor both alerted the Sheriff's Department.
And they asked us to do what's considered a welfare check of the residents to make sure that they were okay.
We don't get a lot of serious calls coming out of that area. So when the preliminary information came in, they gave us an address. That address was within 2 or 3 miles of the courthouse, so it didn't take us long to get there.
Deputies arrived to find the Piacek's front door left open. As soon as they step inside, they're struck by the smell of gasoline. But that's not all.
As you walk down the entryway area, it opens up into kind of a great room with a large kitchen off to the right, and then the living room area off to the left with the couches. And lying by the couches were Yannick and Kiana Piacek. They've been executed. Both of them had red duct tape wrapped around their eyes. Both had their ankles and wrists taped together. There was apparent blood coming from their head. It was obvious when you walked up to the body where they had been shot.
They were killed almost execution style. Both of them were shot in the back of their heads multiple times. As an investigator, when you're coming onto a crime scene, you literally have laser focus. You're paying attention to anything and everything. Everything is important. Nothing is too small when it comes down to evidence.
Sometimes you work an investigation, you may not get all the details of the crime. But in this situation, we know exactly what happened. This is a cold-blooded murder.
In 2005, he was deployed to Iraq. But shortly before he left, Jan met the young woman who'd become his wife.
Kiana was at San Diego, and her best friend gave a party for some Marines that were going to Iraq. And Kiana, typical Kiana, she was in the back room studying.
Kiana was best friends with our friend's girlfriend. Yannick, made up his mind that he wanted to date her and get to know her better. I don't think she wanted to date Marines, but he was persistent and I think kind of got her number and got to talk to her.
But Jan would have to wait until his tour of duty was over to pick up where he'd left off.
They gave the guys a welcome home party. And finally, she gave him the time of day.
Jan had a lot of personality, great sense of humor, tried to make everything fun and enjoyable, really liked to enjoy life, but was also a really hard worker. Once she saw who he really was as a person, I think that she fell in love with him equally as he fell in love with her.
She brought him home and she said, I think this is the one. I said, are you sure? She says, yeah, Daddy. I think he's the one I'm going to marry. I said, okay, well, if he's good enough for you, then, he's good enough for me.
In the summer of 2008, the couple got married.
She planned everything. She picked the colors. Her and Yannick did everything on their own. And that's what made it special.
And this was in a wine vineyard on a beautiful, perfect San Diego day, with Marines and dress blues and his beautiful wife and all her bridesmaids.
I can remember all the bridesmaids wearing Converse. That was what Kiana wanted. She had white Converse on, and it was just awesome to be there and to witness the wedding and to witness the union, and everybody just seemed to be so happy.
After the wedding, Jan and Kiana moved into their first home in Winchester, a mostly working-class community just south of Riverside.
2 stories, backyard, remodeled kitchen. Not a lot of enlisted Marines, get into a house that beautiful.
Perfect neighborhood, more or less, for a newlywed couple to begin, their new lives together.
But the newlyweds would never even get the chance to finish unpacking.
We were just celebrating their wedding, and now they're dead.
I couldn't process it. Who would harm them? Why?
"30 miles south of Riverside, California, is the quiet suburb of Winchester.
The area where Jan and Piaczek had bought a home was actually in Riverside County, in an area considered Winchester or French Valley.
It was just to the north of the city of Temecula, which is a highly populated residential and commercial city.
Winchester was a mostly rural area until a construction boom during the early 2000s. The affordable housing was attractive to military families stationed at nearby Camp Pendleton. Among them were Jan and Kiana Piaczek.
Kiana worked in Paris, and Yannick was at Camp Pendleton. So that area was in between both of their jobs.
They knew what they wanted right away, and that was to be married, that was to buy their home, and that was to build a family together.
But now, the couple have become the victims of a horrific double homicide, and investigators are determined to find out why.
Right away, you could see that there's shoe impressions on the tile floor. You can smell gasoline in the house.
Our first impression walking in was whatever happened there, they were trying to destroy evidence by trying to catch the house on fire.
It appeared that they tried using several methods, one being turning the gas to the oven on and leaving it on. Several small areas within the house that had been lit on fire, it didn't end up causing a large fire.
At first glance, the evidence seems to point toward a robbery gone wrong.
But the home had been searched. They'd also emptied the contents of purses and opened wallets.
However, the way Jan and Kiana were killed tells detectives there is much more to the story.
Kiana and Jan Piecek were shot 2 times in the head each. In my 20 years of investigating, it's one of the more brutal crime scenes that I've ever seen.
Sergeant Piecek had been beaten in the living room. Kiana had been taken away to other areas of the residence, that she had been stripped.
There was evidence at the scene that indicated that Kiana was sexually assaulted.
This is not something that happened in an instant. There was a prolonged period of physical, mental, emotional, and sexual torture that took place.
One person's not going to do that. So from the beginning, we knew that it was going to be more than at least one person involved.
With this particular killing, because of the level of the brutality that was involved, it was a key indicator to the police that this was a personal attack.
As you continue through the house, there's spray paint where somebody wrote the N-word lover in silver spray paint on the wall.
It was in big letters on the mirror, and it was big letters on the wall. It was obvious that whoever wrote it there wanted us to see that.
To investigators, this suddenly looks more like a hate crime.
It's possible at that point that we could be looking at a racial issue. Maybe there's people that have a problem with the fact that a white man is married to a black female.
The very first thing we got to do is talk to their family members.
They asked, did they have enemies? Did they have anybody that, that were mad at them? And I couldn't, point the finger at anybody.
There was not one name on a list. We could tell them a grudge, an old boyfriend, a girlfriend, nobody.
But Kiana's mother does remember one thing that catches investigators' attention.
I talked to her the night before. I could do every night. And she called to say goodnight. And I could hear her, on the speakerphone. She's walking around, putting the alarm on the house. So it's like, how'd they get in the house? How'd they get in without the alarm going off?
There was no damage to the front door or the lock, anything suggesting any type of forced entry. It was apparent that whoever entered the residence had gained access by being let into the residence.
Was it possible Jan and Kiana knew their killers?
The alarm had been turned off, so it would indicate to us that at least the victims had some familiarity with who came to the door.
We had so many questions. Who would hate somebody so much that you would break in their house in the middle of the night and murder them?
Multiple footprints throughout the house. That was an indicator that they were looking for more than one suspect.
There were 3 distinct shoe tread patterns that our forensic tech used latent print powder, the way they would recover fingerprints. We took those shoe tread patterns, went to a shoe store in the mall. The employee there described one as being consistent with a Nike Air Force One, another pattern being consistent with the Nike LeBron 4, and the other Nike Cortez.
We knew that if we found somebody and we were looking at the soles of their shoes, we would have a pretty good idea if they had been there or not.
But first, they would need suspects to compare the prints to. And so far, the police don't have any leads.
The first couple of days in any investigation are crucial. But if you don't have any suspects, it can almost lead into you running into a brick wall.
It was frustrating. It was like every day after the initial incident, the case gets colder and you seem further away from solving it.
There was no focus on a person of interest or even a group of interest at that point.
Even the evidence that's
these types of words to throw law enforcement off if you're going to actually burn the entire house down to destroy all evidence.
It could be that these things were written on the wall simply to misdirect investigators and to lead them to believe that it was race-related when it wasn't.
We were pretty sure fairly quickly that was just a red herring to throw us off. Based off of that, my partner and I were pretty confident in saying that this wasn't a racially motivated crime.
It's beginning to look like investigators may never find the killers. But then, they finally get the break they've been looking for.
The real first lead that we got was when Riverside Sheriff's Department was able to find out that Kiana's ATM card was used right outside the back gate at Camp Pendleton.
After the murders occur, her bank card is used at a Washington Mutual bank branch in Fallbrook, California. That $400 is taken out of her account. Through that, we're also able to find that those ATM machines have cameras on them.
Detectives reviewed the camera footage, but unfortunately, the suspects had been careful to cover their tracks.
For the people who used the ATM card at that location were sophisticated enough to cover their faces completely with bandanas.
Blue bandanas were used to mask that subject's face, and the subject was wearing Mechanics brand black gloves with the white letters on it. So you could see those two things that stood out to us.
Police may not be able to identify the killers yet, but at least now they know where they went.
It was significant because of the proximity to Camp Pendleton. Our victim, Jan, worked at Camp Pendleton. There were some theories of the possibility that the suspects responsible for this were also in the military.
There's really no reason anybody would be going to Fallbrook directly after a murder unless they lived in Fallbrook. We're heading to Camp Pendleton. The fact that it was so close to the back gate indicated to us that they were most likely going to Camp Pendleton.
Could Jan and Kiana's killers actually be fellow Marines?
We could kind of see things clicking. All arrows really pointed to Camp Pendleton.
A week into the investigation, Riverside County detectives believe the suspects in the brutal murders of Sergeant Jan Piecic and his wife Kiana might be fellow Marines.
It was probably challenging for the investigators to have to suspect that Marines may possibly be involved with this case. I mean, most people look at the military as our heroes.
Camp Pendleton is a Marine Corps base located 40 miles south of Winchester. It is the largest military facility in California, giving investigators more than 100,000 potential suspects to consider.
Camp Pendleton truly is its own city. You have housing there where you have active duty military members that live there with their families. There are schools there. There's a grocery store called a commissary.
Once the information started coming out that there was potentially an angle that involved military service members, then obviously the Sheriff's Department had to reach out to NCIS for their cooperation in gaining access to base.
A military base is a different jurisdiction, so the police would have to work with the military in regards to conducting any kind of investigation.
After securing permission from Camp Pendleton's commanders, investigators start interviewing the Marines serving in Jan's unit.
One of the things that we wanted to try and do is establish who had daily contact with Jan Piecic. In particular, who worked for him, who worked around him, who were his friends, and to determine if anybody had any kind of animus against Sergeant Piecic.
The initial people that we talked to were like, we have no idea why this would happen. He was a hardworking Marine.
But detectives soon discover that Sergeant Piaczek wasn't popular with all his troops.
Some guys thought he was like riding them, and I guess they didn't like him.
He was restationed in Camp Pendleton at a training squadron. So this is a different environment than a mission-ready Marine Corps squadron. This is a training group. He went there to try to implement better Marine Corps culture with this group of Marines. And obviously they didn't appreciate it.
And there was one Marine in particular who took issue with Jan's leadership style.
We had another Marine come forward and tell us about a problem that had arisen with another Marine named Tyrone Miller. When we met with this Marine off base, he told us about receiving the information about Tyrone Miller hating Sergeant P. That Sergeant P had made comments to Tyrone Miller that he was going to have a bad performance evaluation.
It comes out that he was planning on blocking Miller's promotion. So this may have been a good motive as to why this murder happened.
Tyrone Miller actually had made a statement after the murders were discovered that, you know, I feel bad that Kiana's dead, but I don't care that Sergeant P is dead.
But was Tyrone Miller actually angry enough to kill his commanding officer?
Having discovered that Lance Corporal Miller had some animus against Sergeant Piaczek, we decided to bring him to Camp Pendleton, to the NCIS headquarters.
Investigator Wortman and I told him we were following up on the investigation of Sergeant P's murder and explained to him that this was a voluntary interview, that if he wanted to leave, he could. He said, no, this is no problem. You know, I liked Sergeant P.
As we spoke to him, we started asking questions that I would call alibi statements that you would ask almost anybody. Where were you during this time? Were you in this particular area?
We asked him basically in the manner of, we don't have your cell phone records now, but if we obtained them, would there be any reason your phone records would show you in the area of the victims the night of the murder? And he said they shouldn't. That stood out to us because it's not a strong denial.
Their suspicions are raised even further when Tyrone describes what he was wearing on the night of the murder.
He very simply could have just said, I wear casual clothes, you know, but he instead decided to say, well, he wears his Air Force Ones.
He's wearing shoes that leave the same tread pattern as those that were found at the crime scene.
When we both left that interview, I think we both believed that he was somehow involved.
Because Jan and Kiana's murder involved Marines, the NCIS played a big role in the investigation.
Homicide investigations can be difficult, and it's more complicated when there's more hurdles that you have to jump through. You have to conduct an investigation differently when it involves any division of armed forces. Suddenly, there's certain procedures that have to be followed. I wouldn't have any jurisdiction.
We all agreed that what Mr. Miller said was suspicious. We thought there was enough to get over the probable cause hurdle to get a search warrant to look into him further.
On October 29, 2008, investigators from Riverside County and the NCIS coordinate to search Miller's home on the base.
At that time, we used a ram to open the door, announcing that the police get down. As we turned the corner into the hallway, we noticed that Lance Corporal Miller had picked up his toddler and he was using his toddler as a shield, backing out towards the back bedroom. In all my time as a special agent, I've never ever heard or seen a suspect pick up his child and use it as a shield. This was despicable. Thankfully, Lance Corporal Miller got down and we made the arrest.
While NCIS agents detain Miller, investigators begin collecting evidence.
Inside that house, the investigators found Sergeant Piaczek's home address scribbled on a piece of paper. that was concealed inside a couch, a cache of firearms, some of which were stolen.
Kiana's ATM card was right out in the open. I think it was on top of a dresser drawer. Jewelry belonging to both of them were there.
There was also a backpack. Inside of the backpack were the mechanics brand gloves that were visible on the ATM surveillance video, as well as blue bandanas.
It was pointed out to me that there were expended casings that appeared to have blood on them.
What they found, I think, cannot be described to anything other than a treasure trove of evidence.
Faced with that evidence, Tyrone Miller finally admits that he and some other Marines were at the Piachiks' home on the night of the murders, but insists he didn't kill anyone.
He describes going to the house. He admits to hitting Sergeant P. He admits that they taped him up.
They overtook him, pointed guns at him.
Lance Corporal Miller really portrayed himself as just a person on the fringe of this crime. He was simply somebody that was standing by.
He was just going there to beat up Sergeant P because he was angry at him because of the bad performance evaluations. You know, it was these other people that did the sexual assault.
Miller claims his plan was already spiraling out of control. But then one of the other Marines decided to get rid of the sergeant for good.
He identifies that the shooter was a person by the name of Emery's John.
Emery's John was also a fellow Marine who had started out in Sergeant Piachak's unit.
He said Emery's John said that Sergeant P was going to recognize their voices and that they had to kill him. And that Emery's John walked over to both of them and shot both victims in the head.
Based on Miller's statement, investigators immediately bring John in for questioning.
During that initial interview, Emery's John steadfastly denies that he had anything to do with the murders. Emery's John couldn't comprehend how anybody could do this to someone like that.
But the evidence found in his barracks tell a different story.
This is barracks room. We find his cell phone, and in his phone is the nickname Psycho. NCIS ran that phone number through their system, and we were able to identify Keyshawn Sykes.
A search of Sykes' apartment uncovers more of Kiana's stolen jewelry. Investigators also discover proof that this wasn't the first time this group of Marines committed a crime together.
As we're going through property that's being recovered from all the places that we're doing search warrants, we're able to link that to robberies that have been occurring other places.
We found IDs, jewelry that did not belong to Jan or Kiana, an inordinate amount of jewelry, lots of weapons, others bonds in other people's names.
We happen to have found a crew that were doing other burglaries and robberies.
We were able to put together a picture of how this group was terrorizing people that lived anywhere near Camp Pendleton and had been getting away with it for a long time.
They were getting desensitized to what they were doing. John and Kiana were unfortunate enough to be one of the later home invasions they did, and they obviously pushed it all the way on this one.
On November 3rd, 2008, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department arrests all 4 Marines.
Tyrone Miller, Emery's John, Kevin Cox, and Keyshawn Sykes, all 4 of them were charged with capital murder.
They wore the uniform, but they weren't Marines. They were armed robbers, and that's all they'll ever be in my mind.
On August 12, 2009, a Riverside County judge orders the 4 defendants to be tried for murder.
Tyrone Miller, Emery's John, Kevin Cox, and Keyshawn Sykes all entered not guilty pleas. That places the burden on the prosecution team to prove the charges that we've alleged against them.
But before their trials can even begin, Keyshawn Sykes threatens to derail the proceedings.
There was a time in Keyshawn Sykes' pretrial litigation where he stood up and started talking incoherently and taking what appeared to be urine and spreading it across the courtroom. That forced the defense team to have him evaluated.
The court has to decide whether that person is considered competent or not.
The jury ended up finding that there was not enough evidence to believe that he was incompetent. Criminal proceedings were reinstated.
The court decides to hold separate trials, one for John, Miller, and Cox, and one for Sykes. On April 8, 2013, the first trial gets underway at the Riverside Hall of Justice.
They bring them out in orange jumpsuit. It's a crazy experience to now be in the same room and this close to all these guys.
We sit there in the courtroom and watch them smile and laugh and make jokes. It was funny to them. It wasn't funny to us.
In his statement to police, Tyrone Miller claimed Emery's John was responsible for the murders. But in their opening statement, prosecutors revealed they have a very different story from the other Marines.
All the perpetrators indicated that it was Lance Corporal Miller who was in charge. It was Lance Corporal Miller who planned this terrible event. And it was under Lance Corporal Miller's direction that they did this deed.
So the suspect said that John was the one who shot them, but they also said that it was Miller who gave the order. When the first bullet didn't kill Kiana, Miller ordered them to shoot her again.
If it wasn't for him, they'd still be alive.
Lance Corporal Miller's quest for vengeance against Sergeant Piaczak, it is truly tragic.
They knew exactly what they do. To sit here and say it wasn't our intention, it was an accident or whatever, no. That's not gonna fly.
Kevin Cox also tries to minimize his involvement.
Kevin Cox's defense team focused their arguments on the fact that Kevin Cox said he was a lookout and that he was not in the house at the time of all the worst things that happened.
One of the attorneys said, well, while you were standing outside, how come you didn't call the police? How come you didn't try to stop it?
It doesn't matter that Emery's John was the one that pulled the trigger. All four of those people sealed Kiana and Yannick's fate that night when they went to that door. They didn't try to talk anybody out of going to that house. They did everything to further the crime and nothing to prevent it.
They were trained, and they used that training to kill my children.
The juries deliberate for several days before rendering their decisions.
Ultimately, the trial led to guilty verdicts for all four.
Tyrone Miller was also convicted of sexual assault.
The jury evaluating Tyrone Miller's punishment and Emery's John's punishment decided that they were both deserving of the ultimate punishment, the sentence of death. Kevin Cox's jury ended up deciding that life without parole was a more fitting punishment.
A year later, Keyshawn Sykes stands trial. He is also found guilty and sentenced to death.
That's when I felt close.
नमस्ते प्यारे दोस्तों, स्वागत है आपका हमारे आज के रंगों से भरे वीडियो में। आज हम रंग भरने जा रहे हैं एक बहुत ही प्यारे और मुलायम से जानवर में। हाँ दोस्तों, एक सुंदर सा खरगोश यानी रैबिट। तो चलिए अपनी कलर पेंसिल्स या क्रेयॉन्स तैयार कीजिए और मेरे साथ धीरे धीरे इस खरगोश में रंग भरना शुरू करते हैं। सबसे पहले इसकी आउटलाइन को ध्यान से देखिए। इसके लंबे कान हैं, गोल आंखें हैं, छोटा सा नाक है और फूली हुई पूंछ है। अब हम इसके शरीर में हल्का रंग भरना शुरू करते हैं। खरगोश आमतौर पर सफेद या हल्के ग्रे रंग का होता है। अगर आप चाहें तो हल्का ग्रे रंग लीजिए और बहुत ही हल्के हाथ से पूरे शरीर पर स्ट्रोक्स लगाइए। ध्यान रखिए स्ट्रोक्स हमेशा बालों की दिशा में हो ताकि फर मुलायम और असली जैसा लगे। अब कानों की बारी है। कानों के बाहरी हिस्से को हल्का ग्रे रखें और अंदर वाले हिस्से में हल्का गुलाबी रंग भरिए। इससे खरगोश और भी प्यारा दिखेगा। अब आंखों में रंग भरते हैं। आंखों को हल्का ब्राउन या ब्लैक रंग दीजिए। बीच में एक छोटा सफेद डॉट छोड़ दीजिए ताकि आंखों में चमक दिखे। अब उसकी छोटी सी नाक को गुलाबी रंग से रंगिए और हल्के स्ट्रोक्स में मूंछें बनाइए। अब शरीर की ओर बढ़ते हैं। पेट और पैरों पर हल्का सा शेड डालिए ताकि गहराई दिखे। जहां रोशनी पड़ती है वहां रंग हल्का रखें और जहां परछाई है वहां थोड़ा गहरा शेड दीजिए। इससे खरगोश त्रिआयामी यानी 3D लगेगा। अब पूंछ को रंगते हैं। पूंछ को बहुत हल्का ग्रे या सफेद ही रखें ताकि उसकी फूली बनावट साफ दिखे। अब चलिए बैकग्राउंड की तरफ बढ़ते हैं। आप चाहें तो खरगोश को हरे मैदान में दिखा सकते हैं। जमीन को हल्का हरा और आसमान को नीला रंग दीजिए। अगर चाहें तो पास में कुछ फूल या गाजर भी बना सकते हैं ताकि दृश्य और प्यारा लगे। अब थोड़ा पीछे हटकर पूरी ड्राइंग को देखिए। अगर कहीं रंग हल्का रह गया है तो धीरे धीरे भर दीजिए। ध्यान रखिए ज्यादा दबाव न डालें ताकि फर का नेचुरल लुक बना रहे। और देखिए अब हमारा प्यारा खरगोश तैयार है। मुलायम बालों वाला, चमकती आंखों वाला और बहुत ही क्यूट लग रहा है। आपने बहुत अच्छा काम किया है। याद रखिए रंग भरना सिर्फ कला नहीं, ये एक ध्यान जैसा है। यह मन को शांत करता है और कल्पना को उड़ान देता है। अगर आपको यह वीडियो पसंद आया हो तो लाइक और सब्सक्राइब करना न भूलिए ताकि अगली बार जब हम किसी और प्यारे जानवर को रंगे आप फिर हमारे साथ हों। तो दोस्तों मुस्कुराते रहिए, सृजन करते रहिए और हमेशा की तरह हैप्पी कलरिंग।